Basically, this video is looking at a player because we're trying to expand. We're trying to become a little bit more fluent in actual, things that are happening in the sports world. So, and golf's one of the things that I enjoy playing. You enjoy playing. So why don't we watch a golfer who has been making a ton of noise the last 2 years in Bryson DeChambeau. Love that name too. So he is called the golfing scientist, at least that's his nickname. The reason why is because he actually has basically taken a look at the game of golf and his own swing and basically looked at it analytically for what it is and eliminated as many possibilities for error as he could in the swing in order to make it as as repeatable, I guess I'll say, as possible. So if you want to go hit play and we'll just watch this as we go.
Hello,
So
everyone.
basically
Gary
what he
Beats here from
highlights
the
is what
Gary
you're
Beats
looking at
Golf
is
Academy. Thanks
his
for
his
tuning
butt
in
and
to another.
backside should not go past that yellow line really. And the reason why is because you don't want to get your body too out of it. You want to keep very straight in your swing. Your hips, his hips are going to be moving, which is interesting. That's part of so the old golf thing was all about rotation and rotating your basically your arms, everything in your body and your core kind of stays still and your hips move a little bit to kind of help with the motion, but really it's about rotating your arms in a very swift and clean manner. You can go ahead and just hit play and let it play out. Anyways, what he does really well is you'll watch his head stays on the ball and in basically a box if you're looking directly at him. And then what happens is as he goes back, watch the club go up this line and does not move. And this is called it's kind of called and I learned about this because I was watching videos on this. It's called a one plane swing where basically he doesn't cross that line. He's always on that one side of the line. He does not move. He follows it and then watch him follow it back through, straight through. And just watch his hips are cocked back a little bit and his stance is a little wider. And then what he does is he follows that line all the way down.
Hmm.
His hips are rotated at the point of where the club hits the ball. The ball is very squarely hit off of the club and hits a little divot in as well, which is it's a perfect swing on the iron. And what he's kind of done to revolutionize golf, which is interesting, is he's like I said, he looked at his swing very analytically. Where if you look earlier in his career, he's very rotational with just his arms kind of rotating through the swing. But what he did was is he adjusted it where he put on 40 pounds of muscle and weight over probably a 6 to 8 month period, from what I read. And what he
For
did
sure.
was is yeah, he put on a ridiculous amount of muscle. He kind of like came back jacked after like the 6 to 8 month period. And what he did was is he changed the swing to where his stance is a little wider and he gets his hips way more involved where his swing and his hips all the way through, and that's really where the power is coming through. And so the swing, what it does though, is if you look at this part right here, if it's paused, is you see his shoulder dip down a little bit. So because of the dip down in his shoulder, it allows him to only have so very like small ability to move with his torso. And when you do that, it allows for basically a very small room for error or change in repetition based on the swing. So he's able to kind of he's basically doing things like planting his right heel and right foot into the ground and kind of pushing the inside of the foot down into the ground. And what he's doing is he's basically eliminating any movement that he could have potentially in his torso as well as in his legs, and very keeping it very straight and allowing him to have the least room for error, so that way the swing is the most repeatable and most repetitive that he could every single time. Now, what that does for him too, and what he also did to help with that, is he also did something interesting, which typically your irons all have different lengths in your golfing bag, and all of the irons have different lengths based on distances where you want to hit them, how hard you're hitting them, the swing you're doing, whatever. What he did is he changed all of the lengths to be the equivalent of whatever the 7 iron length was, and made all of them the same. The reason why he made all of them the same is so that way every single time he swings the club, they're all exactly the same. And the reason why is so that way his swing is the most repeatable and again the most repetitive that he can make it. So that way there's very little room for error. And so that's another interesting thing he did. He also put the largest grips that he could on all of the clubs, again, for higher grips, again, trying to eliminate as many rooms for error as he possibly can. And so that's really what he's done with his swing. Now, what's that done for him as in the golf world? If you want to just pull up his PGA Tour, or not PGA Tour, but his PGA profile, basically what's that done for him is if you looked at his earlier career, I think his average drives were around 300, 305, somewhere in that range where it was a little bit lower. And what it really did for him, though, I think whatever PGA event it was, he's been averaging like near 350-yard drives. So just like unbelievable driving distance that like
Huh.
it's literally I jokingly call him like he's becoming like the Happy Gilmore of golf because he's actually getting closer and closer to 400. His farthest drive, I think, in the last tournament that he did was like 376, if I remember correctly, which is just unbelievable. Yeah, his driving distance standards 320. That's because he's had a couple misfires that are lower, but yeah, he went from like I forget where he was. He was in like the 30s consistently, ranking wise, as far as drive. And then he put on like 40 pounds muscle, changed his swing, and came back. And now he's first in drives.
Eagles as well.
Well, and that comes with the drive being as ridiculous as it is.
Oh,
But yeah,
that's very interesting.
it's interesting. So he has 8 career wins. He has actually 2 this year, the US Open and the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Uh, So he's making a lot more headway this year than he has in the past. He did win, I believe, 2 in 2020 as well. But yeah, so he's really coming on, and he's really a guy that everybody should pay attention to because he's really challenging the kind of what's it called, the old ways of golf, like the old ways that they used to teach you how to swing, where it's again very rotational with your arms and everything like that, and really not getting the hips involved too much because you want to keep your core and body kind of sturdy. And so he's really kind of changing that and challenging that kind of idea. And he's, I think, bringing in basically a new kind of concept to a swing in golf. And I think he's kind of the pioneer of that. And it's working to his benefit because he is winning and he is doing it in style and driving the ball a mile.
Impressive record and turnaround.
Yep.
Oh, he's a physics major.
Yeah, that's why he's called. That's why he's called the golfing scientist. Is because not only has he changed his game to be very like analytical and looking at what he does and repetition and all that stuff, but he's also, he predicated himself very much on like the details and the science of it.
Wow, I like that. That's a different approach. That's new.
It's he's a very fun golfer to watch, and he's got a great personality from what I gathered. Just watching a couple of videos with him, he seems like a good guy. So he's definitely a guy that you could definitely root for when you're watching golf. And just another player I wanted to highlight last week was I think Colin Morikawa, and this week is Bryson DeChambeau.